Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast. Y'all, I am so excited. I have Pavielle with me. She is a lawyer and purpose coach for believers. When we talk about purpose, it is such a big topic sometimes, and we all want to find our purpose, right? We want to be able to connect to the deepest part of ourselves. So let me tell you a little bit about Pavielle. So again, she's a lawyer and purpose coach, and she serves believers by demystifying the topic of purpose and helping you become more confident and fulfilled in your life. And we all want to be confident. We all want fulfillment. After checking all the boxes and working her dream job, she realized that there's still something missing, and she discovered her purpose and never looked back. She now hosts the Purpose Collective podcast and top-rated show where she talks about what living a life of purpose is really all about. And fun fact, I was one of her guests. And each week on her podcast, she discusses insights and tips to help you live out your life's purpose at a high level, just as God intended. Welcome.
Yes, it's so good to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have her here today, y'all. So I want to start by can you define purpose? Like, what is purpose?
Sure. So purpose is the thing that you were created to do. And a lot of times when we're talking about purpose, we look at it backwards. So we look at it as, I need to figure out what I'm supposed to do based off of, myself and my desires. But the truth is, your purpose was given to you before you were even born. It's that thing that God needed done in the earth, and he created you to do it. So everything about like your personality, what you're good at, what you hate, is all to get you to that thing that God wants you to do here on earth.
So what does purpose feel like? Is it a feeling, or is it a deeper knowing?
So it's a doing. It's more of a doing. But I will say that as you're doing your purpose, you do have this deeper knowing, like this deeper understanding of who you are as a person, what you're capable of. You also have like this feeling of satisfyingness, so to speak. This feeling like you have meaning, like your life has meaning. A lot of people feel like they're just existing here on earth. And when you're living out your purpose, you feel fulfilled.
I love that. I feel like I describe it almost as alignment for me. And I always make this I don't know what this means, but this is what I do. So y'all on audio, I'm like putting my hands up and down. I'm like, I feel like it's just alignment. It's not having dissonance. Like it just feels good. Even if it's difficult, even if it's hard, if it's challenging, even if I'm crying, when I'm in alignment, it feels okay. Like I know that I'm walking where I'm supposed to walk. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, what is the feeling? And for me, it's alignment. I don't know what this motion means, y'all, on YouTube. I don't know what it means. Listen. But that's what I do.
Whatever helps you understand it in your mind. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. You are aligned with where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing.
I love that. So tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did you go from a lawyer to a lawyer and a purpose coach?
It's funny. So first of all, I was minding my business.
Okay.
Literally, I had a business. So I am a lawyer full-time, 9 to 5, but I started a business called the Advice Council, and I was trying to figure out, but what that business does was, what it did, because I don't do it anymore, but it reviewed legal documents and agreements between parties to just explain it to the person who needed it explained to them.
That is so important, y'all.
So I just broke down, what all these words meant and, stuff like that about the agreements, lease agreements, contracts. But I was trying to learn more about how to market that business.
Okay.
So anyway, I got an email from this newsletter that I'm on, and the email was talking about how to use your story to create a digital course.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I can use this information because I need to know how to craft my unique story and my why as a way to promote my services of reviewing contracts and agreements. So I attend this presentation, this masterclass, and I am stoked. I'm like, oh my goodness. So mind you, I had no intentions on creating a digital course. I didn't even know what that was. I just wanted to be able to craft my story in a way that resonated with people. Okay. So I'm listening to this masterclass, and it's targeting everything that makes me excited. And as soon as it was over, I said, I need to make a course about purpose.
Okay.
Rewind.
I love
Where
that.
did that come from? Like, what is going on here? So I said, I don't know what that is. So I prayed about it. I slept on it. And then I woke up with this conviction, this knowing of, you are supposed to do that. You need to help people with their purpose. And it just took a lot of prayer and stillness and listening to God's voice to really understand what this was. And God kind of showed me, well, Pavielle, you've been praying about this for months. You've been praying about this for months. And you thought this other thing over here was your purpose. Not my business, but I was doing something else on the side, just for volunteerism, helping people. And he says, that's not it. That's temporary. He was like, no, this is it. And that's how I came to this point of being a purpose coach. I had to really get still, really hear the voice of God and what he wanted me to do in the realm of purpose, because he was calling me to do many different things.
I love that. So my follow-up question for you is, did you resist it? When you first,
absolutely.
Okay. What did that look like for you?
It looked like, girl, who are you to call yourself a coach? Like, who are you to teach people about purpose when you have such a surface level understanding about it?
Really?
You are not equipped to do this.
Okay.
How? Right? Like, you went through 4 years of college as a business major. You went through 3 years of law school, and you work in public service. Please explain to me how that correlates to purpose, right? So I doubted it. I challenged it. I challenged every piece of it. I challenged the, podcast part of it. I challenged the charging people for services part of it.
Yeah, that's a big piece for as a business owner.
I challenged every step pretty much.
How long did it take you from getting that download to taking action?
It doesn't take me long. And I think that that's a sign of spiritual maturity. Because obedience is very important to me. Okay. So even if I do it kicking and screaming, God said do it, I'm still going to do it, because I'm not the kind of person, there are smart people learn from their mistakes. Okay. Wise people learn from the mistakes of other people. There are certain things that I don't have to experience to know that I shouldn't be doing this, or I should go this way instead of that way. And for me, obedience is kind of like that. I don't want to see the consequences of my disobedience.
Let me just act right. Let me just act right.
Let me just act right. I'm a rebel. I'm super sassy, but I am not disobedient. So it took me no time. I got that message from God in September, and I immediately started to implement things that will help me be prepared to lead people in their purpose. So I would say I started my podcast in December. So September, I got that message, and November, I was recording podcast episodes because I couldn't create a barrier. And this was something that I could do with very little money. Okay. It was something that I could offer for free to help people until I figured out what I was supposed to be doing exactly. And so I just did that. So a couple of months.
I love that. When it comes to obedience, I feel like one of my girlfriends talks about God smacks. And yes. And when she explained the concept to me, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so true. When I feel like I'm out of alignment, I feel like I get smacked back to the original idea. And God smacks, some people may find this offensive, but I feel like God literally smacks me back into reality. I told you to do this. And if you do it too much, the smacks get harder. Because you're literally more and more out of alignment, and you will get stumbled back, you will get thrown back, you will get tossed and kicked back to where you're supposed to be to do what you're supposed to do. And when I'm out of alignment, there's just this sense of dissonance in my life where I'm uncomfortable. It literally feels bad. I have trouble sleeping. Things just don't work. And my girlfriend, I never forget that concept of God smacks. It's he's going to keep smacking you back until you do what you're supposed to do. And it's uncomfortable. So why take uncomfortable action versus being disobedient?
Oh, yes. The thing about it is, God is he's our father. And so I think about it like this. I learned this analogy from Marlena, but you know how toddlers or babies or infants, when they're crawling or first starting to walk, they don't necessarily know where they're going. So they will run into a wall or run into danger, right? And the parent just kind of positions themselves between the toddler crawling and the danger, so that the toddler won't, put their finger in a socket or run their heads into a wall. And that's kind of what God is doing. He's pretty much blocking everything that is not for you, because he can't make you do anything. Like, God gives us free will, so we can choose what we want to do. So by all means, you could continue feeling the dissonance and struggling your way to whatever it is that you ultimately want to do, or you can pursue this path that God has for you through your purpose or your whatever assignment.
That is such a better way to explain it, y'all, than my God smacks, just for the record.
I love God smacks. I'm stealing it.
I love it. So is there a specific time you feel like in someone's life when they really when they need to start exploring their purpose?
Yeah, I actually have a podcast episode about this, and it talks about how to know you're ready to discover your purpose, because I honestly don't think that everybody is ready. And one way that you know that you're ready is you feel lost. You just have no idea what you're supposed to be doing with your life. You don't like waking up in the morning. Like, every time you open your eyes in the morning, it's like, oh, okay, another day. I have to do this again. Yeah. So that is a very good indicator that you're ready. You're also ready whenever you feel like nothing around you is working. So like what we just talked about, like, you're trying to do something, but it's not working. And not only is it not working, but everything that you normally do when things aren't working, those aren't working either. Yeah. So, no matter how much information you research about whatever it is you're trying to do, it's not enough. It's not helping you to become successful, So I think that those two things are really good indicators that you're ready.
I love that. I did a episode on breaking a career plateau, and we talked about something very simple and very similar in terms of like what you're doing isn't working. It's time to explore something different, time to create a plan. And the first part is self-assessment. And self-assessment, part of that is finding your purpose, like figuring out what your next move is going to be, because sometimes you can't just run into whatever the next thing is. Like, you need a plan. You need to sit back, you need to think, you need to meditate, do whatever it is to make sure you have clarity so you're not taking steps that you're not supposed to take. So, follow-up question. So, are you able to have multiple purposes?
All right. So, here's the thing.
Oh, I'm excited.
This is something that kind of makes me cringe when I hear it, because what that will manifest as is someone saying, this is my purpose for this season. And the thing is, God doesn't change his mind. He's certain. He sticks to his word. If he didn't, we couldn't trust what he said, right? So when God had this need that he saw here, right, in eternity present and future, he went in eternity past and created you to do that. He's not going to change his mind. Now, what he may do is, if you are disobedient and you don't do it, is find somebody else to do your job. Right? But he's not going to change his mind about why he created you. And a great way to think about this is to think about like your cooking oven. So the oven was created as a way to cook foods at a controlled temperature, because before that, people had open fires and you can't really control how to cook your bread. Like, it was burning bread and burning everything, right? So this person invented the oven, and he invented it so that you can cook your food at controlled temperatures. Okay. So we all know that people use their ovens for many different things, right? They use their ovens to heat their homes. Yes. Some people use ovens to store their pots and pans.
Yes, indeed.
That doesn't negate the fact that the purpose of the oven is to cook food at a controlled temperature. So yes, it can be used for many different things, but that doesn't change the purpose of that thing. The manufacturer knew what he wanted it to do, so he went back and created it to do this thing that he wanted it to do. So you have one purpose, right? But there might be many different assignments. How that plays out might be different, and we can use me as an example. So my purpose is to help people partner with God to discover their purpose and to walk in their full capacity, know their gifts, all of that. how I do that might change, right?
Okay.
Right now, how I do that is I have a podcast. I coach some clients, and then I have a course to teach other clients. But later, that might look like I have to write a book if God tells me that, or that might look like I need to host in-person events. You know, you need to do a retreat. My people are tired, Pavielle. Do a retreat. And I'm going to be like, you want me to do it? Say, huh? No, I don't want to, you know, but I'm gonna do it. But that doesn't mean that my purpose is to host this retreat. It means that my purpose is to provide an environment to where I can do what God said my purpose was all the way back in 2020, which is help people partner with him to discover their purpose.
I think the piece that I keep on hanging on that you said is that the purpose doesn't change, but you have different assignments. So the purpose is almost this lifelong journey of connecting to it. And along the way, you have these assignments that need to be completed.
Right.
And it can manifest different ways, but everything always connects back to that larger purpose. Oh, I love that. I think that's such a great way to explain it.
Yeah. We look at purpose too specifically. Like we'll say, you know, people might look at my podcast and like, yes, your purpose is to have that podcast. That's not it. That's just how I choose to walk out my purpose.
I love it. So anyone who's listening or watching today, what is one thing they can do to start exploring what their purpose is?
Ooh, this is so hard for me to decide.
Or step one. At least.
But if I had to choose one thing, I would say start with really learning how God speaks to you and learning how to hear his voice. And I don't mean his voice through your physical ears, right? Because sure, God spoke to people audibly, you know, during the days of the Bible. He probably still speaks to a few people like that now. But I mean understanding and knowing in your human spirit how the Spirit of God is speaking to you. And I want to break that down even further because God's primary way of communicating with us is through his word in the Bible. So I would encourage you to find a version of the Bible that you can read because the King James Version is probably not it, right? You probably are like, this is putting me to sleep, you know, and I get it because we don't speak like that anymore, right? So find a version of the Bible that you can really get into and understand. If you want some recommendations, I would recommend the New Living Translation or the Amplify. I love the Amplify version. But read your Bible, like designate specific time to read your Bible. And as you're reading it, I want you to not think of it as a history book or a book of facts, but think of it as a tool that is applicable to your everyday life. And I promise it will come alive to you, like it will speak to you. But I think that's the best place to start. I know it's not sexy, right? I know people are like, girl, what?
I wanted something else.
Right,
like
but that's literally it. Like that's, if you can get a grip on dating God, right? Because that's really what it is, setting aside time to read your Bible and to grow from what you're reading in there, you are unstoppable. Nobody can tell you anything.
Okay. I feel like I'm listening. Like I'm listening like I'm not even here recording. I'm just trying to take it in. So what is next for you? Let us know. Let the people know what's next for you.
Ooh, you know, I don't know. I feel like right now God has me in a repeat and refine position. So I think that he's telling me to, you know, repeat these actions, like great job executing, keep going, repeat this, refine it. You're going to get better and better and better. That's what I really feel is next for me, pretty much, is repeating and refine. But I will say this, God is giving me some specific messages from people repeatedly. So you might see something in the tangible form from me at some point. I can feel it. I've been resisting.
So she's not giving us like the juice, but we're going to have all her information in the show notes so we can find out what it is when it goes live. And I think that repeat and refine period, I just want to speak to that for a second. That is a very difficult period to be in sometimes because we all have this notion of, especially for high achievers, like wanting to go forward. But when you're being asked to repeat the same thing you just did, make it better, and then do it again and do it again and do it again, that can be a very, very frustrating period to be in, but also a beautiful period. Because once you finally get to that final refine and you move forward, generally I feel like it catapults you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you are just gunning it after that last refine, and sometimes you don't know when it's going to be. But when it does happen, and this is honestly in anything that you're working on, anything, if you feel called to make it better, make it better, make it better, and then once you're finally like, oh, this is the final state, what happens next is so beautiful, and you're prepared because you've been in like what I like to talk about with my people, like that magic middle, like that gap between like where you are and where you'd like to be. A lot of that is repeat and refine. And when you get to like that long term, it's 10 times better than you even imagined because you spent so much time refining. So that's a beautiful place to be.
I'm excited about it. And it is. It's like you're in the trenches.
Yes.
You know, it's like, okay, all right, do this again. You know, I appreciate it because I understand that that's where mastery comes from.
Yes, exactly.
You know, there is a quote by Robert Greene that says repetition makes the master. At least I think that was Robert Greene. But yeah, repetition makes the master. So I guess that is God's way of kind of answering my little rebuttal about I'm not equipped.
We're going to make you equipped.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So the last question I have for you is, what advice do you have for others who feel that they may need to make a change to get in closer alignment with their purpose? So we kind of answered that with, like, you want people to read the Bible. Is there anything else you want to leave folks with today?
Yeah, I do. You know, I could talk about this all day, every day, no problem. What I think is something that people underestimate the effectiveness of is journaling. So many people who are successful, and my definition of successful is, you know, not monetary, but they're living a life that is in alignment with who they feel God called them to be, and they enjoy their life, right? So a lot of people who are successful attribute their success to journaling or to reading. So you could also read, but the reason why I chose journaling over reading is that journaling is a very introspective activity.
Yes.
And sometimes we look outside of ourselves for purpose, but really it's already in us. So it takes a lot of understanding and hearing God and really understanding ourselves at a deeper level. So I would encourage you to adopt a daily practice of journaling. Journal your thoughts. And you can start small, you know, don't feel compelled to fill up a page.
Yeah.
There's no rules to this. And to even eliminate the angst that might come with that, just set a timer. Like, just write for, say out you want to write for 10, 15 minutes. Set a timer. And when that timer goes off, you're done. You know, like, and don't feel compelled to say anything in particular. Just write what you're feeling, write what you know. And I think that coupled with the Bible, listen. If you can get a handle on, like, the promises of God in the Bible, like how God says he always causes you to triumph, then you can show up in any situation knowing that you're always going to win, right? But you only know that if you read the Bible. So I think that those two things will accomplish what they need to accomplish.
I'm not going to say anything else. So let the people know where they can find you.
Ooh, so you can find me, because I'm not even going to hold you with Facebook because I'm rarely on there. I will say this. I do have a private community on Facebook. So while I don't socialize on Facebook outside of my community, I do hang out in my community. So you can find my community at the Purpose Collective Community on Facebook. If you want to hang out with me, I hang out on Instagram. So you can follow me at pavielle.esq. That's short for Esquire. And I'm on Twitter as Pavielle Bookman, my first and last name, which I probably should change to match my Instagram. But that's how you can find me. And then if you want even more information, you can find me at pavielle.com. That is my website. If you want more guidance on discovering your purpose, I do have a quiz. It's called How to Find Your Unique Path to Your Purpose, and it's very specific to your strengths, your weaknesses, and your personality traits. You can find that at pavielle.com/quiz. It's super fun. Like, it involves a lot of the things that you like to do, like shopping, especially if you like to shop at Target or listen to music. So that's helping me be able to really kind of give you a result that speaks to who you are as a person, to help you kick your purpose journey up a notch.
We will make sure that all of that is linked in the show notes. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Y'all, thank you for being here, and may your next move be your very best move. Have a great day, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to the Your Next Move podcast. Don't forget to share this episode with a colleague or friend so we can all level up together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And lastly, if you're looking to join a community of thriving professionals, I invite you to join the Next Move Best Move community, my private community of professionals that includes the Manifest Yourself signature leadership development courses, monthly lunch and learns, and more. For more information, please go to kimberlybeonline.com/community. Until next week, remember to make your next move your very best move.